has to do with something that to many Americans especially can sound a little counterintuitive. It's about freedom to make choices. We tend to think often that the United States is truly the land of freedom. Americans really value and appreciate freedom, and for a long time it's absolutely true that Americans have been the freest people in the world. And then we look at Nordic countries and we might think that, well, they're kind of those socialist nanny states where people sacrifice their freedom for the common good. But I actually think it's the other way around. The Nordic countries today offer their citizens much more freedom than the United States does. It's really about the structure of society, the way the society is organized. And what all Nordic countries do, not just Finland, is they have these universal social services that serve everyone in that country. Services like affordable daycare, high quality public schools, free college, no tuition.
A year ago when I was talking about Scandinavia and higher education, that it was free, and a guy jumps up, he said, I am from Finland, and you're wrong, Senator. I said, really? He said, no, it is not free in Finland. They pay us to go to school.
Universal healthcare, paid parental leave. And in the Nordic countries, these are systems that serve each and every individual, regardless of how wealthy you are, regardless of who your employer is, regardless of where you live. Everybody has a right to these services. And so what this does is that it really gives people freedom to make choices in their life, what they want to study, who they want to marry, where they want to work, do they want to be an entrepreneur. And this certainly gives you freedom to really figure out where your path in life is, what your passions are. It's not dependent on what kind of family background you have.
Socialism is morally reprehensible. And if you want prosperity for all, socialism just doesn't work.
I think anyone who's been to a Nordic country today could certainly tell you that these are really modern, well-functioning societies. But also, if you look at all these studies that are coming out about quality of healthcare, quality of education, people's well-being, children's well-being, they are always rated highly. Even though you might think that, oh no, that's never going to work, that's terrible socialism. What I think they're really doing is they're investing in equality of opportunity, and they're investing in freedom, and these are the most American of values. But you do need to invest in them so that everybody in a country can enjoy these freedoms. I think a lot of Americans think that everybody in Finland pays 70% of their income in taxes. That's not at all true. But of course, overall, it's true that the Nordic nations collect more taxes. They have more taxes on consumption and so on than the United States does. And the reason why Nordics are happy with that situation is because they feel that they pay taxes and then they get these services in return. And again, these services, I mean healthcare, included in your taxes. College, included in your taxes. Affordable daycare, subsidized by taxes. So it's not a system where the government takes away from the wealthy and hardworking and gives to the lazy and poor. It's a system where everybody pays taxes and then everybody in return gets these services that they themselves use.
I can hear the Republican attack ad right now. He wants America to look more like Scandinavia.
That's right. That's right. And what's wrong with that?
Bernie Sanders talking about the Nordic countries was kind of a big deal for people in the Nordic countries because they're used to being small countries somewhere far up north, and I think it's new to them to feel like, oh, people in other countries in the mighty and powerful, the United States, are talking about how there might be something to learn from these countries.
What's wrong when you have more income and wealth equality? What's wrong when they have a stronger middle class in many ways than we do, a higher minimum wage than we do, when they're stronger on the environment?
It's a question of what do we think is happiness. Often we think that Americans are the happiest people in the world because Americans tend to be sort of cheerful and outgoing and social, which is wonderful. But I don't think that's really a true measurement because obviously a lot of Americans are really anxious from day to day. We can see it in American society today, and in the last election there's a lot of anxiety going around. So I think when Finns hear these results, they also tend to think of this sort of smiling index and they think that this is ridiculous, but that's not really what these studies are about. They're about quality of life and they're about security and they're about freedom rather than who smiles the most.